Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm always so enjoying the music that I almost forget that we're meant to be doing a podcast.
I know.
Janine, how are you doing?
I am fabulous. And yourself, Sara?
Fantastic. And hello to everyone watching and listening. Welcome back to the Women Wives podcast. I'm Sara Haboubi, and as always, joined by my incredible co-host, Janine Lingenfelder. And here on Women Wives, we are sharing inspiring stories of women who've broken through barriers, they've found their voices, they're really making an impact around the world today. And we have a truly special guest with us today. We're going to welcome Elena Buriani.
Yeah, we are so excited to have Elena on the show. And I love Elena's journey. It's all about resilience and leadership and empowerment. And the topic for today is, of course, from trauma to triumph. So it is absolutely fabulous to have you on the show. And please start with your journey, Elena. I think,
Yes.
Sara, up to you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It would be amazing for you to just introduce yourself, who you are, share a little bit about your personal journey, how you kind of got to where you are, especially some of the challenges maybe that you faced along the way, and how all of these shaped you to be the amazing woman you are today.
Oh, thank you for the amazing. Okay, thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be in this hard woman core engine. I love it. So as you mentioned, I'm Elena. I'm from Italy. I've been spending the past 10 years in working, living, inspiring, impacting, struggling in Dubai. With my husband and my two kids. Dubai was definitely our last stop. Of course, it won't be the last one, but was definitely a place where we will always be grateful for, because it gave us welcoming, inclusion, a lot of thriving, a lot of discovery. And this is really in this country where we realize how continuous growth and resilience are literally the fuel for, I wouldn't say success, but most probably for fulfillment. Yeah, because success is a big word together with happiness. But at least, feeling that every single day you are moving closer to achieving what is your big vision, that you are on track. And things are possible. You made things possible. And I think this is the story of many, when during your life, sometimes you feel completely stuck. And sometimes you also think, it's impossible that this is happening to me. What have I done to deserve this? And sometimes you get paralyzed, you get completely frozen, or some other time you react exactly the opposite. You get very angry and frustrated, and you want to quit, and you want to leave, and you want to shut down. So there's so many reactions that fear, anger, and maybe and also shame can carry over into your life. I think my journey of challenges started very, very early. I grew up in a disrupted family. I wouldn't define my family a real family. My parents, they broke up very young, very early. I was only 4.5 actually. And they were even before very busy at work, running a restaurant. Running a restaurant, it's a very complicated business. Like the time are completely not fitting with the normal time of a child or a family. So basically, I grew up with my mother that had experienced the Second World War, and she had a lot of trauma herself. With a husband that was a very violent and strong policeman from the south of Italy. So the scenario was not the great to start with. But despite the thing I've witnessed, and I might have a huge list of experience that I had to witness with my own eye. I think that's the biggest common ground that left me completely, let's say, maybe, yeah, not defended, completely exposed and completely vulnerable, but not in a good way, in a fearful way, was the fact of having had received any emotional education. Yeah, so emotion were all suppressed, needs were all completely suppressed, even the basic need, like education or food, or a house, a routine, a stability. And I realized that I grew up in fear. Honestly, I grew up in fear of where will I be tomorrow, who will it be by my side tomorrow, um, who could I trust, what is right, what is wrong. And it was very, very scary. As a
Imagine.
coping mechanism, I would say, because we all have coping mechanism, thanks God, in order to survive. I was a very extrovert girl, very busy. I started performing. I was 3 years old. The prima ballerina, the prima singer, the shows on theater, and for me, it was so comforting to sing somebody else's song, to play somebody else's script, to dance somebody else's choreography, as far as I didn't have to speak my own voice, because I didn't know what my voice was. So I've been in the performing realm for so many years, suppressing my real self. And when I turned 18 and I started understanding, I'm an adult. Ideally, for the law, I'm an adult, and I should feel I can cope alone outside in the world. I fall in a very deep, depression that lasts 3 years, because I really realized I was completely abandoned, and not able to make those choices, like simply which university should I choose, where should I live, what is my scope and my meaning in this life. I was completely lost. Then, thanks God, after 3 years of, valley, desperation, being workaholic, not being able to sleep, and going all the way down, shutting myself, sleeping all day. I mean, I really had the full pics from one edge to the other. I met my husband. I mean, back then it was not my husband yet, but I met this 24 young, handsome boy when I was 21. And since then, we are still together for the past 24 years. And he was also in his valley of despair, I would say. So we met in a very peculiar period of our life. And it was completely different from any other partner I've ever had, which I was showing always, the performance, the funniest one, the sunny one. While in this guy, for the very first time, I saw sadness, and this allowed me to open up and feel sad too. So we met in sadness, and we learn how to support each other through our vulnerability and weaknesses, not being afraid of being exposed. Knowing that on the other side was somebody that was keep you safe rather than mocking you for your blind spot, or manipulating you, or judging you, or gaslighting you. And in this journey and growth within, I discover a lot about emotion, emotion intelligence. I try to find my voice, which I think somehow is coming up. I tried to understand what was my strength, my talent, my gift, what was that thing that I could give back to the world. I discovered what gratitude was, even towards my parents, my grandparents, because I've learned a lot through that experience. And then we got given with a child. This was almost 15 years ago. That was neurodiverse, but it was very tough to get a diagnosis. So the first 3 years, I fall again in a postnatal depression. It was even harder than before because you have the additional layer of feeling completely responsible for another human being while you feel completely incapable of even taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that the biggest problem was that I realized there was something different and peculiar in my son, but nobody else wanted to accept that, and nobody else could see that. It took not me, it took the life 3 years to show people that the problem was there, and for people to realize, yes, you were right, it's not about you, you're not a wrong parents, you're not a wrong mom, you're not a wrong dad. There's it's not about how you have raised them, it's not about in which with which behavior, culture, value you have brought him up, but it's really something peculiar that is within him that we're not equipped to deal with, because kids, they don't come with a with a handbook,
Imagine if they did. My goodness me, that would be.
I would have been very helpful.
And also,
very.
I always think about my own. If I could have a return policy, that would be, what would be the. I'm kidding.
Well,
I love
but,
them.
I agree with you, but on the other hand, how many things would have not discovered in the journey about myself, about my potential? We haven't been sleeping for 7 years. Yeah. He was not eating for 5 years and a half. He has been kicked out from 5 schools in 2 years in the kindergarten, not even in primary. And
this was. I'm sorry to interrupt. Was this in Italy? This is where
we were still in Italy. Yeah,
you were still in Italy.
And on top of that, our parents and our ecosystem was completely judgmental. And it was completely not inclusive of any sort of diversity. So both me and my husband, before getting married, before having kids, we were living and traveling in foreign country. We then decided to go back home, close to grandparents, to have in Italy, we call it La Famiglia del Mulino Bianco, which is a brand of biscuits, that they always were doing this advertisement that their family are super happy and eating the biscuits and enjoying along. With the chimney, the vegetable garden, the plant, the animal, everything was perfect, but we were so desperate and so broken, zero support from schools, family, and the entire environment, friends also. We couldn't go out for dinner to a restaurant because his behavior was very tough to manage. We couldn't
very
go
isolating.
to cinema. We were completely isolated. So we decided to move to Dubai. And in Dubai, my husband got a job in Google. Thanks to Google, which has a very strong oriented coaching culture, my husband started to receive some coaching. He got fascinated by the approach. Consider we were already working, all of us, with psychologists, including my son, and with the neurologist as well, an expert in children development. But, thanks to coaching, we realize, okay, we have the awareness, we know what's going on. Now we have a diagnosis, we understand, but where do we want to go and how we will get there? So thanks to coaching, I think we eventually filled that gap of having clarity, of what am I here for? Where do I want to be in 5, 6, 10, 20 years from now? What is the value and the culture of family and of society that as a parent I want to share with my kids? Because I believe nowadays is not about educating our kids in terms of knowledge, because they are so much exposed to knowledge. or even mentoring,
Too much.
that we get it
Too much
from,
information, actually.
yeah, from so many other side of of the world. But I think what is really important, I discovered for myself, what was really important for me to give to my kids was at least my set of value and the culture. How do I approach other people? I approach myself with love and care? So really being good role model of good practices of empathy, respect, courageousness, bravery, humorism also sometimes, and diversity and inclusion, of course, for us is a mantra. And so, we got better. My husband with the coaching. I love the coaching. And I said, I also want a little bit of this. Give me. And eventually I also started. He got certified. I got certified. And despite when I came, I was teaching Music Together, which is a music and movement program for small children. And I've been in that business for 20 years, of which 13 in Italy and almost 7 years. And I was also a Pilates instructor. Eventually, at a certain point with COVID, I said, this is what I want to be. And, I really want to focus in making my organization purely a coaching, training, and HR consulting oriented organization. So I reinforced my learning into HR because I've been working for 12 years in HR before I fell into depression with my son. I couldn't cope a corporate job and managing him with depression. So I had to quit, and I started teaching music to children, which for me was very healing, by the way. I think that was having, 20 to 40 between small kids and their parents and caregiver as clients every day were really, pushing me to wake up and have an impact. I was not that good in helping my own family, helping myself, helping my own child, because it was very difficult and challenging. But at least I was very proud of still being able of helping other kids, other family, with what I knew. And I learned a lot from the other kids on how to manage my own kids, and definitely everything that I've learned about how to be a leader as parents, managing a small leader of 2 years old that behave like a dictator. Definitely taught me a lot. And now I'm bringing this out there. And in COVID, we decided to turn Leah Growing People, which is our organization, from a B2C reality where we were only coaching parents and partners, husband and wife and families, into a more B2B organization. Now, 6 years later, I have a community of active coaches, trainer, and HR consultants, around 40 of us. We speak 25 different languages. And we have an extended community of other trainer, coaches, HR consultants we have been working with in the rest of the world when we had some projects coming in and we needed somebody potentially located in Japan, Korea, China, LATAM, Vietnam, Romania, you name it. And it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring for me, even if I zoom myself out and I see all the journey of my entire life, surviving to 2 narcissistic parents, a very violent grandparents, and a completely numb grandmother. Having to start working when I was 15, dealing all the struggle with my own son, all this feeling of not being enough, of being rejected and isolated. I feel I have an immense gratitude that thanks to the support of others, I've learned how to lean into others. I've learned how to ask for help. I've learned how to let go of my perfectionism, try to do very well what I'm good in doing, and for the rest, leveraging on the strength of other people, thinking in a concept of connection, belonging, and I think I will never be alone anymore.
Yeah, that's what it's about. You know what, Elena, you've touched on so many emotions, from fear and burnout. And it's amazing to know that you found a partner that was able to share these feelings with you and you both uplifted each other. My question to you would be, how did these experiences, especially with the neurodiverse child as well, moving to Dubai, how did these experiences influence your mission for Leah?
Oh, well, that's, our main mission in LIA is to develop leaders, and through the leaders, develop and boost the efficiency of their team. I don't say it usually to the leader, but having been working 20 years with small children from 0 to 4 years old, you realize that inside every leader, there is still a 0 to 4 years old child. So I will always approach leader with that perspective that is my own. It comes from my experience. It also comes from the lens of my hurted inner child, of course, because it's always present there with me, giving me his own perspective. But at the same time, how is that important that as leader, we understand that our duty is to grow other leaders.
Yeah.
And this is what I've learned being a mother of my own son. He came on earth with very strong leadership traits. From that, I also discovered that we all born as leader, all of us. The only thing is that we need to discover what is our unique leadership style, because there's no one style fit all. And, how can we be in a synergetic ecosystem and environment while our style of leadership are so different and sometimes they crush against each other? So I think that reinforcing and empowering each person with their unique leadership style and learning how to cohabit, cooperate, collaborate, co-work in an efficient team while we are still expressing our own autonomy, decision making, authority, reputation, credibility, responsibility as leader and human being. All our company, Leah, is definitely all around that, seeing as every person as unique, seeing diversity as a gift rather than a limit, and being extremely inclusive to enhance psychological safety, sponsoring dependability as a need, because we can't do anything alone. It's much better if we do it together. And then, of course, a little bit of structure and clarity, because it's always needed. Who does what, when, how. And then being sure we always have clarity if we are motivated. Why is that meaningful to us? And what is the impact that we want to generate? Now, I'm very happy to say that we are, the official vendor of a huge HR consulting company here in UAE. We're having a lot of impact of many company leaders, salespeople here in the country. But also very happy to say that I was able to consolidate strong partnership with consulting company in Italy. So I'm able to give back to my country, bringing diversity, bringing inclusion, and from here, because funny story is that now I work with those consulting company, and every time they need somebody that it's not an Italian speaker, they ask me to provide this to them. So I have coaches in all Europe, East Europe, working for Italian company. So it's a kind of going back, still contributing to the success of my country, but being loyal to who I am, and keep voicing my voice, I would say.
Amazing. So when you talk about leadership, what are the main, I won't say issues or problems, but where do you think a lot of people fall down when it comes to their perception of leadership and what it really ideally should be to as you said, have that cohesive, efficient team?
So I think that to answer these questions, we have to do also a distinguish, specifying that in the era of AI, also things are rapidly changing when it comes to leadership. So maybe what was true 2 months ago is not true anymore. But for sure, the first things is that many leaders, they compare themselves to an ideal of leader.
Yeah.
That most of the time is more a manager than a leader, or is more a boss than a leader. And
Okay.
they are unfortunately missing out their own authenticity because they want to fit into something. This is definitely, I would say, is the first, roadblock. The second, for sure, it would
Sorry,
be.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop you there because I'm interested. How would you define then manager versus leader, or boss
Leader.
versus leader?
Okay, so it's the manager is a person who makes sure that men does what they are supposed to do, that they are busy and they do what are supposed to do in any possible way. A leader, according to me, is it's a person that can lead from many places. Yeah, that it's not always potentially at the front giving instruction, but it could be around the person. Sometimes is showing the way, being the first one, showing the vision, sharing clarity, keeping people motivated and inspired. But sometimes it's also somebody that come at your side and empower you, that coach you. Sometimes it's also a support from your back that eventually hold you and protect you. Sometimes it's simply an higher, entity that see things with wisdom from the top and can give you advice of, hidden agenda or hidden, motives that are not that clear to a younger person in the organization because of their expertise, their wisdom, their insight. And for me, a leader doesn't want the other people to be like him. A leader is a person that can understand what is unique about each and every person, and actually will do as much as they can for them to stay loyal to who they are. The managers tend to be willing people to do what they want them to do. And sometimes you need some managerial skill. Don't get me wrong. I mean, time management.
That's a lower. Managing is a lower level kind of skill set than leadership. But I absolutely love that concept of, no, it's not about you being like me. It's about you being the best version of you.
Finding
how do I
your
help?
best.
How do I help that person come out? I love that.
Yeah. And you've mentioned something earlier just now, Elena, about, values. And I think authenticity plays a very big role. So how can, and you obviously have clients, not just women, but how can women in leadership specifically stay true to themselves, especially when they're facing external pressures? Because you clearly have got experience with exactly that. So I would love to hear what you say on
I
this.
think that despite any difficulties, the fact of having a very strong mother that had to play both the man and the woman helped me a lot. Because she showed me a lot of strength. She showed me a lot of courageousness. And of speaking your truth, of knowing that you are any less than any other contributor in the organization. But of course, I needed to balance that energy with still being a woman, which she was not. So it was very long, the journey of discovering how you can be a female leader that is balanced in between your feminine and masculine energy, and then knows very well when to adopt which. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I know that when I have to work into my strategic thinking or into meeting deadline, looking at the number, closing down a deal, become very efficient, straightforward. I need to bring my male energy in. But at the same time, I don't want to lose the fact that in the process, I'm still making time, taking time. I'm thinking, letting emotion to settle. I'm welcoming also perspective that don't come only from the head, but also, as we were saying, Sara, from the heart and from the body. Sometimes you also have strong intuition.
From the gut.
Yeah, from the gut, from everywhere, those strong intuition, that things maybe they'll take a little bit longer in order for them to be done together rather than having them done now but alone. I've learned to dance in between those two elements with gracefully, I hope. It's a never-ending journey, by the way, but I can definitely tell I'm much more graceful than my mother, and this is already a great success for me. I'm learning a lot from my daughter. She's extremely graceful when it comes to feminine energy. I have to say that I'm in this between generation where I'm trying to take the most out of my mom masculine energy and the best out of my daughter feminine energy, and find really the good balance there. I'm not.
I think it's such an important concept that I think a lot of men and women really don't get, is the interplay between the male and female energy. And some women are naturally, that is their energy is more masculine, some of them, and for some men naturally their energy is actually more feminine, but the majority, it's like, how do you embrace the two without, as you said, it's that balance, it's not losing your true essence, what is your true
Absolutely.
energy.
And I took a lot of time due to my childhood trauma to understand if I had any feminine energy, how could I live that energy fully? Because of course, in order to survive, I had to be, boom, 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 boom. And I completely, excluded many aspects of my femininity, or the aspect that I thought was feminine actually were not the real one I wanted to embrace. I was almost embracing a version of feminine or a female that, if I think now, was like, no, this is not the type of woman I want to be, right? So the journey never ended. I realized that having that many male energy was a result of traumas, and I was not born like that. I was not born like that.
Well, it makes sense, though. It makes sense because you wouldn't have felt safe. Yeah, it makes sense because, feminine energy is softer. It is much more, flowing. It is much more kind of sit back and observe. It's not as kind of, forceful. And obviously, given your childhood, that wouldn't have been safe to have been like that at the time.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
Exactly. Personal growth it's such a big part of leadership. And it's incredible to know that Leah is still continuing to thrive despite all your personal struggles. Can you just tell us a little bit the meaning of Leah so that people can just understand that? Because I know there's a story behind that name.
Yeah. So funny enough, originally we simply took the initial letter of me, my husband, and our family surname, which is Luca, Elena, and Atti. But then we started looking at the definition of Leah on the Oxford Dictionary, that actually it's pronounced Lee and means vast area of fertile and arable soil. So I said, oh, wow, I really love that. I mean, if I can be that for my client and they plant their seeds and they become the most fruitful, thriving plants they could be, I would love it. And then eventually through a client, I discover that there's also a biblical character from the Bible. She was the wife of Jacob that was in love with her sister, not with her, despite he was married with her, he was in love with the sister. But the sister was sterile, and despite she was not loved by her husband, she gave birth to 7 children. So even there
you managed to love her a little bit then.
Yeah, just a yeah.
So imagine, even there, the story of, the power of creation, despite any circumstances, the unconditional love, despite she was not loved, and having really this forward thinking, because from those 7 kids, it gave origins to the tribes of the Christians. So it was really the beginning, and it's quite interesting. And then into an event last year, one lady approached me saying that in one of the language of, I think in Swahili, care means nurturing, nourishing, caring, Lia. Yeah. So actually, it seems that despite it comes from different roots, there this common meaning of caring, nurturing, creating, preparing, fertilizing for the next things to come. And we really like this approach. And from Leah, we also created our approach that stands from learn, empower, and achieve. Is a cyclic approach. So we like to say that you learn something in order to empower yourself. By doing that, you achieve something. In the process, you're learning something new, and then you resume the cycle over and over again in a crescendo. So for us, it's really a spiral. So yeah, as you said, in Leah growing people, growth never stop. Ideally, only death will stop us from growing or from learning. So this is really the approach we want to have going on.
I love that.
And can you give us an example then of a company that you went into and you really transformed, the teams and the leadership culture? With that, you don't have to give us a name of the company, but maybe.
Example. The first example is actually from the coaches themselves that belong to the community, because sometimes they enter that they're not ACC yet. They maybe have just finished their own certification. They feel they own it, but they have several fear and discomfort in putting themselves out there, feeling they are relevant, feeling they can make a difference in coaching, which at the moment is a quite competitive industry, mostly here in UAE. We are money. So I think from there, it was beautiful for me to see that some coaches were coming in, getting confident, starting getting some gigs, getting mentored by other coaches, working in projects where they were assisting or they were the junior coached pair with a more experienced one, finding that, strength, starting creating their own database, their own clientele, and then finally having the courage of also opening their business and taking their own venture, or eventually, yes, reinforcing, taking their own venture, but keep staying loyal to the community for this continued growth, exchange, sense of belonging, having a team. So I think that one of the best success stories for me are really seeing all my coaches entering ACC, becoming PCC, renewing their PCC, turning this really in a profession, starting thinking about business, developing their own business, developing Leah business, bringing client in, sharing, creating a lot of synergy. And this, I think it's beautiful. And I keep saying, I don't want to convince you that this is the way to go. I'm just simply tell you that this is the way I go. I started alone, and just because I could resell some of your services, things that I couldn't do, but you can do. Instead of going alone to the client, I was saying, no, I'm not alone. I have 20, we speak 26 different languages, that allowed me to reach level. And now we can all rejoice of this. So I keep always sharing this image. If I was able to do it, anybody can do it, because we have access to the same resources. We are sharing all the resources. So everybody can get their own slice. Regarding client, and why I'm mentioning that, because coaches are my client also. So this for me is one of the best. This process is for me a great success. When it comes to final clients, so we have other two line of business. One is our direct client, to which we sell our proprietary products, which are the great leader for leadership, the efficient team for the team. And we have a digital assessment tool that we have developed internally to track and assess the gap between how the person are perceived versus how they would love to be perceived, versus some ideal competences and traits we think every good leader or every efficient team should have. So I think the best scenario there was really helping a team that was new. They started with 3, and in less than 1 year, they become 14, with a lot of young people joining the organization, together with people of a completely different generation. How do you start including all the line of reporting, including an extra level of reporting? How do you mitigate the completely different leadership style, and also for the new generation to feel at value, but embracing the culture of the organization also, because this was a company with a very, very, very strong historical culture. It come from Europe, it come from France, it was a family business. So imagine, even me, in order to run training for them, I had to receive 4 hours training on their brand, their story, their products. So this, I think it was extremely beautiful. We started from one team, and from there we worked with 3 teams. We started with, one small kicks. And from there, we ended by coaching, delivering more than 100 hours of leadership coaching to all their leader, sharing more than 200 reports, doing more than 5 days of training in the desert with the horses, on the sailing boat, in hotels. So this definitely has been very, very inspiring. Knowing also that is a brand that we all know. And funny enough, my mother, she used to have a product of this brand and keep it in a very precious box. And so even from my childhood, it was quite fascinating seeing this pattern and say, wow, from that little box that I was scared of touching, now I am contributing to the success of this organization, was quite inspiring. And then the third pillar is when we work for associate for big consulting company. And I think that the most inspiring experience for me was to support the executive team of a big food company, Italian, but in the AAA. So last year I traveled with them, for them, around Singapore, Turkey, Australia, Italy, South Korea, And it has been beautiful to share with them all those experiences around this side of the world. But at the same time, having to deal with a team of 17 people with 13 different nationalities.
Challenging.
Extremely inspiring. And we help them navigate through a very tough transition. Where they completely change the metrics to evaluate their performance. Before it was by country, and it became by the entire region. So try to imagine, just to give you an example, Italian food in Australia versus Italian food in China. Yeah. So they need to transition towards this completely disruptive metrics. And also they changed their leader in the meantime. So it was very, very beautiful to
be part of and
support
experience. Yeah. It's like lifelong learning. It's part of lifelong learning. Is where you then grow at the end of the day, and that's what you mentioned. You have to learn. So if there's one message that you could leave with women who are facing their own traumas and challenges right now, what would that be?
Well, for sure, ask for help. For sure. I mean, of course, it's also my profession, so ethically, I need to do it. But I have a coach and I have a psychologist that I meet every 7 to 10 days. And it's the best investment I've ever did, for sure. And so ask for help, first of all. And second, trust that two things, one within and one from out. So the trust within by saying, even if you are completely misaligned and you believe there's nothing good you could bring on the table, or that you have zero clarity, you feel completely stuck, you have inside a motive, you have inside a quest, you have inside a meaning. It's just a matter of finding it, but is there. So trust that you'll find out sooner or later. And the trust from outside also, try to be still grateful and as much positive as possible, as an approach, as an outlook, because again, as nothing will happen just by yourself, also life will bring you important challenges, messages, ally, opponents, but they are there into your life for you to figure it out. So yes is within, embrace whatever it's coming, because it's meant for you to grow. And yes, this is what I would say.
Love it. Can't believe our time's flying.
Yeah, I know. But we've got a few more minutes though, and I just want to kind of take you back to a comment that you made kind of early on, which was about how fast AI is changing and how that's changing the landscape in corporations and the business world. I've got my own opinion about how we need to be moving forward because of technology. But where's your kind of head at with this then? The fact that AI is really accelerating at an exponential rate. Where's the role then of leadership, authenticity, coaching? Where does that all now sit in that playing field?
Absolutely. So I have assisted several leaders pre-AI, AI, and one of the major concern was that 70% of their time as leader was mostly taken in filling up reports, doing a performance review, OKR, KPI, decision making, a risk management assessment, strategy, a lot of those aspects that needs to be done, but they are very high demanding in terms of time and in terms of focus. And unfortunately, because of that, sometimes they didn't have the time to get to know their people. Again, they were more managing the people rather than getting to know them. So the beauty, I believe, about AI is that all those tasks can be somehow or soon they will be delegated. So we will definitely start using AI to help us in strategic thinking, in risk management, in crisis management, in performance review, OKR, KPI definition, and strategic thinking, strategic planning, which will ease our need of being extremely focused, extremely careful, and it will reduce the time of between 20 and 30%. So it's a huge number. And it's already now 20%. So try to imagine how much we can build on that. So that all the time that we got given in return, my question is, where would you invest it? I mean, if you are a leader, that it's falling on the description we did previously, ideally you should invest this time in growing other leaders, which means giving them constructive feedback, coaching them, supporting them, helping them unleash their strength, finding their meaning, keep them motivated, inspiring with your vision, and keep to yourself all those humankind skills that as human we can still give, and we will never be obsolete till machine won't take over. So at the moment, this is our unique competitive advantage against machine. Yeah, that we can act, that we can empower, that we can understand, we can empathize, we can discover other people's needs and help them to satisfy them. We can be an enabler of this process. So
I love it. You're completely aligned with my vision as well, because I keep saying, we have to be more human now than ever. We have to really see each other. We have to, and I think, we see it in terms of events and things. People are hungry for human connection, for being in person, for for having that network of real people and friendship. And I think that's something that machines never going to give you. But I think freeing up your time to achieve those things,
big time. So future leader will be leader that are change maker, and that they role model a very critical but still efficient use of machines.
Yeah.
100%. Oh my goodness! Now you're a perfect example of turning trauma into triumph. It's absolutely wonderful to. I mean, both me and Sara, we know you off. It's not the first time we've met.
Camera. Yeah, we know you in real life. We've really met you, and it was through networking, and it was through the human connection.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's the other way around. We were lucky that we met face to face first.
Exactly. No, this is really exciting. I hope to our listeners that you got that you got inspired by listening to Elena and her story and what she's achieved and still going to achieve. So watch this space. Don't forget to follow her. We'll share the link in below. And we're all over this place. I mean, it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So Elena, thank you so much for being a guest here at Women Wise Podcast. I'm feeling so pumped and inspired.
I know.
So thank you for that.
This is the idea, isn't it? Though you want to look. Everyone has their stories, and everyone is entitled to their stories and their journey. I think it's more about, what did you do with it? Like, how did you flip it? Like, where are you now compared to where you were? And I think that to me is, so inspiring. And thank you so much for being so candid and sharing your story as well, because that's part of it too. It's not all about being super successful as if you just kind of arrived, in your success from nothing, without any trouble. And I think a lot of people, sometimes that's the view, isn't it? You see people and you're thinking, God, it must have just had everything handed to them on a plate. It's like, no, actually, the best stories are the ones that, it's turning it into a triumph. So do you have a last word for our listeners, our last sort of little bit of kind of pearl of wisdom that you'd like to give them?
Oh, wow. No, I mean, let's not start by saying no. Let's say yes. To start
I was going to
with,
say, what do you mean no?
yes. And I would say, maybe I would simply repeat, being in a quest to discover your unique leadership style. As soon as you will align to that, you will feel another person. And your impact will be 1,000 per the one you're having now, and things will come. This
Amazing.
is what was very fascinating for me. As soon as I felt that click, things were much easier. When you are aligned,
good. I like
come.
that. Yeah. Well, you open up, don't you? You create the space.
Then you have to learn to welcome them up, which is another topic.
Well, we will have Elena. I am sure we will have you back again.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to come back and talk to us again.
For sure, I love it. For sure, the more the better. I mean, it's good to be together in this. And as I shared from my story, so many times I felt so much alone, and then you discover the power of being in this together. And again, everything is much easier and beautiful, because people are beautiful. So there's much more richness and beauty into your life.
Then that is a fantastic note to end on. Thank you for being with us here today. Janine, thank you as always for being an awesome co-host on the Women Wise podcast.
And to you, Sara, it's always a pleasure being with you on Women Wise podcast. And with that said, watch this space. There's so many things happening within our world. So
there's a few changes. There's a few changes coming for Women Wise, and of course, if you would like to be a guest on Women Wise, if you feel like you have a powerful, empowering story to share, do email us. The contact details are below. But yeah, don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, to like, to comment, to share, and of course, subscribe. But yeah, let's get the word out and let's keep empowering women and moving forward. So on that note, I'm just going to say thanks very much, and we will see you again next time.
Be kind to yourself.
Bye.